Hi, this is Greg with Lionquestfitness. Today we're shooting the Henry Big Boy Revolver. And check that thing out. That is a beauty. It's a good shooter, 357. Now initially I was trying to shoot this with a critical defense, 357, 125 grain bullets. But I found myself shooting very low, so I switched to a semi-wad cutter 357 from PMC. Also, for those of you who have been wondering, the HKS 586 speed loaders work for the Big Boy Revolver just like they work for the GP100. Now, what we're going to talk about today is, do revolvers jam? So let's talk about it. Now, do revolvers ever jam? Absolutely they do, although it is a relatively rare occurrence, and I'm going to give you some examples from my experience. But what we have a lot of times is this age-old debate about whether semi-autos or revolvers are superior. And we have our stereotypical bearded, tattooed firearms guy makes this comment. Well, you know, if a revolver fails, it's critical. Hey, but for semi-auto, it's just tap, rack, and you're back in the fight. But not always. You can have a critical fail with a semi-auto, and I have had critical fails with semi-autos. Sometimes it's the feed, sometimes it's the gun. But what's happening when they make a statement like that, they're actually obfuscating the truth, because they're comparing a catastrophic fail to a simple, let's get that round out and get back to shooting fail. And it's two different things. Now, as far as a revolver jamming, what happens is the cylinder doesn't turn. And what can cause that? There's a couple of things, but the number one thing is the ammunition. Now, I was shooting my Henry Big Boy Revolver out at the range the other day. I was shooting 357, shooting PPU, 158 grain 357. Now, it did not have the velocity on the box, so I assume usually when they don't show the velocity, it's rather weak ammo. This was not the case. This stuff was pretty stout. And after the fourth round I shot, the cylinder jammed up, and I couldn't get the gun to turn. So I had to take it back home, very carefully, by the way, since it was still loaded. And I put it in a vise, and I took a rubber mallet, and I gently hammered the cylinder out. Well, this is what I found. Now, this is one of the PPU rounds. And what tumbled out when I hit that mallet on the cylinder and got it to pop out was this piece of metal, which looks like maybe part of the copper jacketing of one of these rounds. And my theory is that it was jammed between the cylinder and the forcing cone, and that's why the cylinder wouldn't open. Now, an interesting thing, I had this Taurus 605 jam because of PPU ammo, or actually Monarch, which is made by PPU, which is the Academy Sports house brand. Well, it was lead-based ammo. It was copper jacketed, but it had a lot of smoke, and it also caused a lot of fouling in my guns. Well, it was okay with 38, but when I started shooting some 357s, just after 2 or 3, it fouled up around the forcing cone and places underneath the yoke, and you know, it made it, the cylinder would not turn. And it took some very extensive cleaning to get all that fouling and gunk off my gun. So for a long time, no more PPU until the ammo crunch hit and you just got whatever you could. And, you know, I thought I'd give this a chance, and I won't be shooting it in any of my revolvers anymore, but I may go ahead and shoot these in one of my lever action rifles. All right, let's look at a mechanical failure. And we're going to pick on Smith & Wesson here with old Chief Rolling Thunder Combat Magnum 66-2. Now what happened, once I got this gun and I would take it out to the range, I would shoot 6 or 7 rounds and then the cylinder would quit turning. And I got to checking into it, and I got to researching forums and all, and basically what was happening is that the ejector rod was backing out. The more you'd shoot it, the more it'd loosen up. Well, this type of ejector rod screws in counterclockwise, and I'd screw it back in, take it to the range, shoot it a few times, and then it'd back up and bind the cylinder. So what I did is I applied some blue Loctite and screwed it in. Hadn't had any problems since then. So you can have a mechanical problem with a revolver, but that brings up my next point. So the bottom line is, any gun that you're carrying and using for self-defense, periodically you need to test that gun by firing it, running rounds through it, hopefully training with it, and you also need to maintain it, especially with semi-autos. You know, a lot of people get into this thing about wanting to have the dirtiest gun in town. Well, you know, gosh darn it, if you want that gun to take care of you, you better take care of it. And that's especially true with revolvers. They require much more cleaning and maintenance. Also, check things like screws, you know, cylinder screws, latch screws, and any other thing that can come loose from shooting. And once again, make sure that you shoot that gun periodically to make sure that it's functioning well. And this is Greg with Lionquest Fitness.